Ty France dominated the first half of the 2022 season and earned his first career All-Star appearance as a result, but after suffering two significant arm injuries, the Mariners' first baseman struggled mightily at the plate. So what do we make of his year as a whole? Well, Colby and I will answer that question coming up here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is Monday, October 31st, 2022. Happy Halloween, everyone. This is Ty Gonzalez and Colby Patnode for the Locked On Mariners podcast. Thank you so much for making us your first listen. Subscribe, like, and turn on alerts if you're watching on YouTube, or subscribe and leave a 5-star review on your preferred podcast platform if you like what you hear. And if you want to hear from us even more, please consider signing up for our Patreon. The link, as well as our social accounts, is in the description below. And stick around till the end of the show to find out how to win an autographed Cal Raleigh card. Colby, throw that up on the screen. Show them what they could potentially win. And while you're doing that, I'll let the folks know what we got going on the show today. We'll be reviewing the 2022 season of Ty France. We'll talk about his red-hot first half, his injury-plagued second half, and how we feel about him heading into 2023. But before we get into all that, Colby, we have a move to talk about. It is never too early for Jerry and now Justin season to begin. The Mariners, on, what was it, Thursday or Friday? We were recording an episode. It was actually Wednesday. It was Wednesday. It was all the way back on Wednesday when we were recording our Patreon show that the Mariners claim right-handed pitcher Luke Weaver off of waivers from the Kansas City Royals. And this is a pitcher, Colby, that you have had your eye on for a while now when it comes to the Mariners. I think folks that listen to Locked On Mariners or our Patreon show back last year during the offseason will know that you very much like Luke Weaver. I think he was even in our offseason plan last year, or maybe at least for a time was in our offseason plan. He, of course, started the season in Arizona and finished the year in Kansas City after being traded to the Royals. He ended up throwing 35 2/3 innings, sporting a 9.59 Ks per nine, a 3.28 walks per nine, a 6.56 ERA, but a 2.69 FIP and a 3.82 xFIP. Was worth half a win by Fangraphs standards. Of course, former starter. Now it seems like he's fully converted to the bullpen. He's been plagued by injuries for the entire duration of his career, pretty much. But what do you like about Weaver? What do you think about him now that he is officially in the Mariners organization?
Yeah, Weaver's an interesting arm. You know, he's probably most famous for two things. He was involved in the Paul Goldschmidt trade, and also for losing the standoff at the Anthem in Kansas City to Robbie Ray. That's probably the two things he's most known for.
And there's a third thing, Colby. There's a third thing. His nickname is Dream. Yes.
Dream. Yes,
Weaver.
Of course.
Dream Weaver.
Yes, very, very original. Not related to the other Weavers, one who stunk for the Mariners and one who hated the Mariners. He's not related to either of them, as Ty previously thought. Surprise, he was wrong.
I did. I thought he was a part of that family. However, I was wrong. Yes.
Yeah. So Weaver's a guy with pretty good stuff. It's fastball, 94 to 96, but he did get closer to triple digits out of the Kansas City bullpen. It's pretty high spin rate fastball as well. It ranks in the 82nd percentile this year. Last year was in the 91st percentile. The fastball velo is relatively new. He's always kind of been 92, 93. But this last year, it jumped up to 95. Kind of a kitchen sink type of arm here. But it's mostly fastball changeup. And there's some value out of those two pitches. It's kind of a clay, like a lump of clay, and the Mariners are trying to shape some quality pitches out of that. Weaver, he does have a background as a starter. That's how he primarily, came through the minors and how he spent most of his big league career. Fortunately, wasn't really ever able to stay healthy, but he did throw up some pretty good years out of the rotation. And I don't know if if we should say that Weaver will most definitely be in the bullpen. But I also should say there's a better than I would say probably better than 50% chance that he doesn't survive the winter on the Mariners 40 man. This is a lottery ticket. It's a guy that you go out and you grab. But again, it's 95, it's 95, 96 mile an hour fastball, pretty good changeup, slider, curveball. Throws a cutter, which we know the Mariners like to tinker with. Maybe they see something in that pitch. I don't know. But to me, this guy is mostly fastball changeup. That's kind of what he's going to live on. And I think this is just kind of a guy you look at and the Mariner. This seems like a guy the Mariners can do something with. It seems cliche that you look at most of his numbers and you're like, he's just kind of another guy. But I don't know. I look at Luke Weaver, I look at the peripherals, I look at his stuff, and I say I think the Mariners can turn this guy into something. Um, in the past, I was hoping maybe you'd give him a shot as your number 5 starter. This year, I guess if the Mariners really believe in him and they think they have a solution for him, he can fight for that number 5 spot. But you'd probably want somebody with a higher floor than Luke Weaver there. So I think it's going to probably be a bullpen spot, but I do think the Mariners see something in Weaver. Maybe they like his curveball more and they think he needs to throw it more. Maybe they think maybe they think they can sharpen up that cutter and make it a real weapon against lefties. But it's fastball, changeup, slider or cutter is kind of, sometimes the two pitches meld together. That's kind of what he goes for. But statistically speaking, his best pitch over the last few years has been his curveball. He just doesn't really throw it. So we'll see what the Mariners want to do with that. But he is ARB eligible. He's out of options. So it's kind of a tough uphill climb to make the major league roster. But there's talent in the arm, and we've already seen the fastball velocity go up. He's pretty good in Kansas City out of the bullpen. And there's some underlying numbers here to suggest that he's better than his traditional numbers would suggest.
At face value, it seems like a guy that ends up just getting DFA'd at some point during the off season, but you have to pay attention to it because this is just what this Mariners organization does during the or has done during the Jerry Dipoto regime, and that's just get relievers, get arms, just in general out of nowhere, and turn them into something useful. They did it again this year with guys like Matt Festa. Maybe this year, Luke Weaver is their Matt Festa. It's very much possible.
Drew Steckenrider or Ryan Barucki, who they seem to fix, or at least start to fix.
Austin Adams, Connor Sadzik, the list goes on and on and on.
Paul Sewald.
Sewald.
Pick a name out of the Mariners bullpen. There's a chance that was a reclamation project for the Mariners. And Eric Swanson, starter that they converted to the bullpen, took a couple of whacks at, and then they finally found a formula that works. So, I would just say I would rather take a chance on Luke Weaver than the likes of Brennan Bernardino and Drew Ellis and Ryan Barucki and just kind of those bottom 10 guys on the Mariners 40 man. I would rather have Luke Weaver than basically all of them. There's just enough upside there that's a guy that you give a shot to. And like you said, he's probably not going to make, I'd be mildly surprised if he made spring training with the 40 man spot. Maybe he gets DFA'd and nobody claims him and they sign him to a minor league deal, but I'd be mildly surprised if that happened. I would be pretty significantly surprised if he made the opening day roster, but it's a recognizable name. And it's a fun name to kind of dream on as the Mariners' first official move of the off season.
And it gives us an opportunity early on here in the off season to say, chills, Dipoto did it again. Now with that, we're going to look at the 2022 season of Ty France in just a moment, but real quick, a reminder, this episode of Locked On Mariners is brought to you by Bet Online. BetOnline.net is your number one source for betting on football and the start of the new basketball season. Find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth analysis on every game. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sports wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. It is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline is where the game starts. You're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. Thank you so much for making us your first listen. So let's get into Ty France's 2022 season, and it was really a tale of two seasons for France, who, I mean, Colby, he was a top 10 hitter in all of baseball for the first couple of months of the season, from opening day to June 23rd, which is when he suffered his first of two major arm injuries when he had that collision at first base in Oakland. Up to that point, he was slashing 316, 390, 476 with a 156 WRC plus. He was striking out just 13.8% of the time, walking 6.4% of the time. He had 10 home runs, 45 ribs, and 311 plate appearances. So we'll get into the negatives of his year and kind of how everything snowballed for him in the second half in just a moment. But let's talk about the first half for France and how he was able to get his first All-Star bid in his career. What was it that allowed him to find such success and sustain that success for the first couple of months of the year?
Yeah, it was really interesting. France last year, with the exception of basically a month where he, was playing through an injury, and it looked like he had found a way even to build on top of that. It was a different Ty France. He was pulling the ball with a little more authority than he had in the past. It really looked like he was going to cruise to, 25 homers, probably 30, 40 doubles, and he was well on his way to hit over 300. And obviously then the injuries happened, but before that, it was basically what we expected from Ty France. He didn't swing and miss a ton. He didn't chase as much in the first half as he would in the second half, and he was a little more disciplined. But he was able to punish pitches more often. Pitches that he used to, inside out swing and hit a flare to right field. He was turning on those balls, and he was hitting home runs and doubles down the left field line. So it sure seemed like he was ready to take another step, but unfortunately, like in life, baseball stuff happens, and he would take a turn. But in the first half, he was legitimately very, very good. I mean, 308, 376, 470. That's an all-star. Like, that's a very deserving all-star nod, and it's a slash line that makes you one of the best hitters in all of baseball. It's a top 5 percentile slash line in all of baseball. So he was something else in the first half, man, and it felt like he was going to cruise to 300 and 25 home runs and 350 on base, and he might even sneak up and slug 500 on you, which has kind of been the question with Ty France's bat. Has always kind of been like, how much power can you get out of it? And it looked like he was on his way to answer those questions.
Yeah, he was on pace, I believe, at one point for 28 home runs. And then it just, it tailed off, of course. So, let's get into the second half numbers here for France, who returned from the injury after going on the IL on June 24th. He came back July 7th. And from that point forward until the end of the regular season, slashed 236, 288, 399 with a 97 WRC plus, 16.9% strikeout rate, which isn't significantly different from his first half numbers, 5% walk rate. It was really just the quality of contact was not there anymore for France. He was generating a lot more outs. And, you talk about some of the chase numbers and all that. He just ended up finding himself in a lot of disadvantageous counts. And it seemed like he was pressing for a while there as well. And, it really, what I really want to emphasize here is the second injury that he sustained, the wrist injury. This is the second year in a row that he sustained a wrist injury. And last year we saw that it impacted him heavily. And this year, once again, it impacted him heavily. The offensive numbers just completely went down the hill. So what went wrong here for France? Was it all just injury? Was there a mental side of things? Did you see him pressing? What were your eyes telling you over the course of the second half of the season watching Ty France hit?
Yeah, the one thing that really stood out is that it seemed like he was chasing a lot more. not striking out more, not significantly more, just chasing. We saw him, go at bats where he would swing at 3 pitches outside of the zone. That's rare for Ty France. France isn't like an elite, right. I mean, he's not Barry Bonds in his prime, drawing walks. And that's not really part of his game. He's going to derive much of his on base skills from his average. He gets a lot of hits. That's kind of what Ty France does. But he was chasing, and it's not hard to anybody can show you the math that says, hey, it's a lot easier to get a hit in a 1-0 count than it is from an 0-1 count. And we saw France just kind of do that, and it looked like he was pressing, trying to break out of a slump, and it just kind of snowballed on him, and we saw weeks at a time where it looked like he was back, and then he'd go right back to chasing. He became very susceptible to that slider off the plate. And it wasn't even to the point, like in the past he'd chase those, but he'd find a way to punch them into right field through, past the second baseman. He had the plate coverage to do that. Well, he didn't have the same plate coverage that he had pre-injury. And as a result, the pitchers just kept on going further and further out there, and France kept on chasing. So, basically Ty France became a mistake hitter. He wasn't doing anything on pitchers' pitches, which is fine. Like most hitters aren't good enough to do that, but Ty France is. Ty France is a guy who can, spoil that 96 mile per hour two seamer just off the outside corner, and he can push it into right field for a base hit. He's done that his entire career, and in the second half, he just could not do that. He was very susceptible to the breaking ball. They kept telling us it wasn't an injury. Both Ty France said it, I'm not injured. The Mariners said I'm not injured. I hope they were lying, because if they weren't, that's a troubling trend, and it's not one that was really corrected at the end of the year. We continue to see the same. Basically what we kept seeing was Ty France getting himself out. Mm-hmm. And that's a problem. Ty France is a guy who has to hit. Ty France can't be a super valuable player if he's going to be a 110 WRC plus guy. He's not a good base runner. He's not a good defender. He has to hit. And even his defense took a step back this year. So he has to find a way to hit. And if Ty France can't, he's not a very valuable player. He's a DH. He's a kind of a guy who gets 350, 400 plate appearances.
He's a DH who doesn't hit 30 plus home runs.
Right, which you can't have unless you're the Astros and you have Michael Brantley, and even Brantley's hitting 300 with 380 on base, and they have power everywhere else.
Yeah,
you just can't really afford that if you're the Mariners right now.
But also right now it's like, well, what in France's second half suggests that he can hit 300?
Yeah. So,
and that's kind of where I want to go with this now. Real quick though, I want to list his numbers in the playoffs as well: /231, 259, 269 with a 54 WRC plus in the 5 playoff games. That was 27 plate appearances for him, 22.2% strikeout rate, 3.7% walk rate. But yeah, so going to next year, I mean, is it just as simple as don't get injured and we'll see the Ty France that we saw in the first half this season? Because, I mean, listen to these overall numbers for him. Even with how bad the majority of his season was, because that's really what it was, what it comes down to post-injury. It's the majority of his season. He still slashed 276, 340, 437 with a 127 WRC plus. It's still an incredibly valuable hitter at the end of the day. But then, you dive into the numbers and it's like, well, but can we get first half Ty France again? Is that player still there, do you think, heading into next year?
I think he is, but I tell you this, I wouldn't want to bank on it. Not next year, not, with World Series aspirations. I don't think it's fair to fans for the Mariners to just be like, oh, well, just trust us. Ty France will be good, when they just watched him be frankly bad for half the year. You're already sacrificing some power with Ty France. You're sacrificing a little bit of defense, not much. France was pretty bad at first base this year compared to what he was last year, but he's still fine. Like, he's not a black hole over there at first base. He's not Daeho Lee or anything, but he's fine. Like, he's okay over there, but you're sacrificing power. And if you're going to sacrifice power, he has to make it up to you with average and on base. He's never been like an elite on base guy, or I should say an elite walk guy. He's always posted really good on base percentages, but those are largely, batting average driven. So if he's only going to hit 240, 250, his on base is probably only going to be 310. That's with 430 power. That's not good. Like that is a below average first baseman. So I think he can get it there. But I think one thing you have to understand is that Ty France is now, 2 years in a row. He's hurt his wrist by getting hit by pitches. He was I think he led the league in baseball, or I think he led the league again in hit by pitches this year. It's 2 years in a row that he's either been first or second in that category. And he's not making an adjustment off that. So I think you have to be prepared to live in a world where Ty France gets hurt again and needs to be out. And the Mariners have to have a backup plan that allows France to sit because he's not one of your 3 best hitters. Now he's your 5th best hitter, and you can survive, a month without him. I don't know if Ty France is a foundational guy like maybe we thought he was. There are enough questions for me after that second half to wonder, like, how important is Ty France to the Mariners going forward? Certainly he has some importance, but how important, let me rephrase that. How important do you want Ty France to be to the Seattle Mariners? I think it's a fair question to ask after what we just watched in the second half.
And for me, talking about how France kind of impacts the offseason big picture, I don't think that, considering the risks that might be involved here, that France should enter 2023 as a top 3 hitter in your lineup. I think you got to push him down the order. And then if he is first half Ty France again, then great. Or if he's something kind of in between, then great, But if they're, because again, he just naturally, he crowds the plate. He's going to get hit by a lot of pitches. If he gets hurt again, history suggests that he's going to be this guy, right? Because he was this guy last year when he got hurt. So if that's the case, I mean, I don't want to have to rely on him late on into the season where he's hitting 2 in my lineup, like they were doing in the playoffs this year, because he didn't help them in the playoffs. I listed the numbers. He did not help them at all. There were some really key at bats, especially in Game 3 of the ALDS, where they needed Ty France to come through, and he just wasn't even competitive. I think about the 3-pitch strikeout. I think it was in extras. That game is, thankfully, I'm kind of pushing that game out of my memory banks, but that like, those are the moments that you need your number 2 hitter to come through. And if France just can't do that, if he's proving now that he's just incapable of being able to do that post injury, then I don't know. I don't think that you can rely on him to be one of your top 3 guys anymore. And again, like, if he is that guy, and then you, like, great. And it's great to have that guy hitting in the middle of your order instead of at the top of your order, instead of guaranteeing that guy so many at-bats. And then you can adjust accordingly as well, right? I just think right now, heading into the offseason, you need to get significantly better. And I think we're both in agreement here that the Mariners are going to do that they are going to significantly upgrade their lineup to a point where France will end up getting pushed down the lineup. But this has to be a priority for them, that they need to put in some safeguards here, where if France gets hurt again, or this is just who he is, that they're not so reliant upon him to generate that kind of offense that they need from that top of the order spot.
Yeah, I think when I look at Ty France, I think of a guy like Yuli Gurriel, right? Yuli Gurriel. Where is he hitting in that good Astros lineup? 6th, 7th. Yeah. That's where Ty France needs to be hitting. Sometimes 2nd, if you like the matchup, it's against a lefty, like, oh, okay, we'll sneak him in there. Fine, whatever. And it's not necessarily that Ty France has to hit, 6th for you. Like, can you build a lineup where hitting Ty France 2nd is fine? Sure, but it's about, like, how many hitters do you have on your roster who are better than Ty France? I think the answer has to be at least 3, probably 4 if you really want to, have a top-notch lineup, but probably at least 3, and Julio can be one of them. Fine, you need 2 more. Who are the 2? Right now, nobody, and that's a problem. So the Mariners need those bats. Ideally, in a perfect world, you would find somebody who could play first base, and play the outfield. You can find somebody who could do both, but there's not a lot of guys out there like that. Trey Mancini, he can stand out in left field.
Also, he's
but
been awful. He's been awful.
he's been pretty bad the last 2 years. Like he's an average bat. He's not better than Ty France. Josh Bell, yeah, but again, he can stand in left field.
And that's also going to be expensive.
Yeah. So like, there's just not a lot of guys out there. I think Cody Bellinger, but Bellinger's been really bad, and he's also going to be expensive monetarily.
Unless he gets
so you just kind of look around,
yeah.
right? And then we'll see what happens there. And that's the other thing too, is that there's some guys who are going to be free agents who aren't yet,
Mm-hmm.
and there's going to be guys who are available via trade that we don't know about yet. So maybe that option is out there, but I think, ideally you'd like a guy who can play at least a fringe average left field, but also play a pretty good first base and hit relatively well. And that way you can have a guy who can rotate around in the outfield, play some first base, can DH. And on those times when France needs, 3 days off, you can give it to him without feeling like your lineup is doomed to fail. So, it's France is a guy who I think the Mariners would be foolish to ignore France's name in trade talks. To be like, hey, would you move Ty France? And the Mariners say no. That's dumb. I think that's dumb. I'm not saying they're going to trade Ty France. In fact, I would bet pretty heavily that he's the opening day first baseman if he's healthy. But you can't just say no to that, right? You have to be willing to open up your mind to a part where they're like, yeah, we could upgrade from Ty France. We could do better than Ty France at first base. And you have to be okay with that. That's what winning teams do. They move on from good players to get great players. So we'll see. Again, I think France is going to be the first baseman on opening day next year. I think we're going to see a better version of him than we saw in the second half. But I don't know. I don't know for sure. And I think that's a problem.
Yeah, no, I am confident that you are going to see a much better France when we get to opening day in late March. But can he sustain that over the course of the full season? Because he hasn't been able to. And can he sustain a clean bill of health over the full season? Because he hasn't been able to. Mm-hmm. And of course, that's not necessarily his fault. I mean, he does crowd the plate, et cetera. And so the hit by pitches, those are naturally going to come. But also like the bang bang play at first base where he gets his arm pulled all the way back. Like there's nothing he can do.
It's kind of fluky.
Yeah, it's fluky. Yeah. So I'm not saying that Ty France is injury prone or anything like that. I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to label him in that way, but it's something that is becoming a little bit of a trend, and you can see a path here where it could mm-hmm. happen again. And there's just there's natural concern that comes from that. All right, so before we hop off of here, let's remind the folks about the giveaway that we're doing. You guys still have about, 5 weeks or so to get involved in this. We are doing this until the end of the winter meeting. So the last day, or the day after the winter meetings, is December 8th, 2022. That's when this ends. All you have to do to enter this giveaway is to subscribe to our YouTube page. We've already gotten our first goal checked off. This is a multi-tiered giveaway. So our first goal of 4,000 YouTube subscribers has already been checked off as of last week or the week before. We're going to be giving away an autographed tailored Dollard card. So next up on our list is 4,500 YouTube subscribers. We're getting a little closer to that mark. And when we get there, we will be giving away a Taylor Trammell autograph card. Then next up on that, with 4,500 YouTube subscribers and 3,000 Twitter followers, you can follow us on Twitter at LO_Mariners. We will be giving away a Jared Kelenic autograph card. Then at 5,000 YouTube subscribers, and this is the card that we were teasing at the beginning of the show, we will be giving away a Cal Raleigh autograph card. Now, there's a couple of other bigger goals that we're hoping to reach, and some bigger prizes that we would be giving away along with those. If we become the most subscribed to Locked On MLB show on YouTube, the current leader right now, I believe, is around 5,400. That's Locked On Astros. They might be a little bit higher now because, of course, they're in the middle of a World Series run. But if we can surpass them by the end of the winter meetings, Colby will be giving away a Mike Cameron autograph card. And then if we get to 10,000 YouTube subscribers somehow, some way, Colby will be giving away a 9.5 graded Logan Gilbert autographed card. But yeah, let's take this one goal at a time. Let's get to 4,500. Let's give away this Taylor Trammell card, and then let's work towards those Kelnick and Raleigh cards. But we will definitely be giving away a Taylor Dollard card to one of you. So if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel already and you made it to the end of this video, first of all, congratulations. And second of all, subscribe right now. And you are entered the giveaway, and we will be picking all the winners for all of the cards that we end up having to give away on December 8th, or whenever we do our next show around that time. So, yeah. Anything you want to add here before we hop off, Colby?
No, I don't think so. I'm writing again. If you guys want to check out my Substack, sotosports.substack.com. It's free. I haven't started subscriptions or anything like that yet. So I just posted the first article yesterday. It's 10 free agent bats. I think the Mariners should prioritize, be interested in. It's a little murky, but it's basically 10 hitters I like for the Mariners. And they're kind of ranked, but they're also ranked with some sense of realism baked into it. Like, I'll just tell you guys right now, Aaron Judge isn't on the list for obvious reasons. So, but 3 of the 4 shortstops are, and they're not 1, 2, and 3. Ooh, that's what we call a tease. So, yeah, check it out. Like I said, totally free for now. And yeah, just looking to get back into writing. Probably going to do something on the Seattle Dragons, or Sea Dragons, I should say, for my next post.
Jakaris.
So, Jakaris, that's right, baby. Dragon Tales, they're back. So yeah, check that out. But also, please do subscribe. It helps us a lot. And yeah, it's almost Jerry season or Justin season. We're right around the corner. Hopefully, after the Phillies sweep the Astros here in Philadelphia, we can officially say that it's Jerry season. And with Jerry season, what comes with that, guys. Mailbag Monday and Fan Fiction Friday, baby. Ty is so excited to hear all of your trade offers. We're going to see how many Shohei Ohtanis we get in day one, and it'll be glorious. And no, the Mariners can't get anything for Justice Sheffield. Let's just throw that out there right now.
Yeah. Is Shohei Ohtani going to be the Brian Reynolds and Jose Ramirez of this offseason? Oh yeah. Which non-Ohtani, non-Trout player is going to be that level, do you think?
Like in terms of just like trades?
Yeah.
Well, I would say like just overall, it'd probably be Judge, because those were never going to happen. Trying to think. Ohtani's the obvious one, and then I think
we're going to get a lot of Cody Bellinger, personally.
You think so?
As long as he doesn't get non-tendered, I think we're going to get a lot of Cody Bellinger.
Okay.
I've been seeing a lot of Cody Bellinger interest on Twitter, so just kind of gauging the temperature of Mariners Twitter. I think that's where we might be.
Okay.
Heading. Yeah. Yohan Moncada too.
I can see that.
Yohan Moncada, I think.
That's
a lot of.
I think that's more for us. Honestly, though,
yeah.
I don't know if the rest of Mariners Twitter has caught on to the Moncada idea.
I know Jage, who I went to game 1 of the wild card with. He's very interested in Moncada, and he's going to be submitting some Fan Fiction Friday trades to us. He let me know the other day. So
cool. Maybe that's a segment for later this week. We can each pick 3 under the radar trade candidates that Mariners Twitter's not talking enough about, or something like that. So,
all right.
Yeah. But yeah, Bellinger's a good one. I feel like for some reason people are going to ask us a lot about, and again, maybe this is just my selfish brain working, but Brandon Lau.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that people are going to be interested in, but especially if the shortstop sign relatively early.
I know Jerry Savage Sapoto is going to be submitting some Brandon Lau trades to us for sure. We can at least count
as well as perfectly cropped Carlos Correa pictures of him wearing a Mariners uniform.
Yes.
High quality Will Stone level.
Yeah.
Attention to detail on the edits.
Yep. All right. Well, that's going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. For Colby Patnode, I'm Ty Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Dane Gonzalez, the CANEGNZLZ, and Colby at CPAT11, that's CPAT11. You can also find all that stuff in the description of this episode. And thank you again for making us your first listen. Now, for your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast featuring the biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. It's available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts just like us. And with that, have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.